Hey everybody, welcome to this video. There's reports of breaking news of SU-30's that are out there doing joint operations with F-16s, and this is just unprecedented. SU-30's are basically showing that they're getting ready to go up against the US military. We've got naval assets. We've got the USS Ford in the area, and these Su-30's are just kind of hanging it all out there. They're like, yeah, we don't mind. A little bit of Gerald Ford action. Yeah, we'll take on the F-18Es and F-18Fs, but it's insane what's going down right now with Venezuela, with how the things have just gotten more and more intense over the past few weeks. So I wanted to bring you some of that breaking information. Within the past few days, there's been launches of these Su-30's, and that's been actually documented on different radars, and they're showing that they're trying to potentially go up against US fighters and forces. So I want to bring that to you guys. So here we are just looking at some of the different options of what they might be doing. Okay, so you got this video right here. Venezuela's patrolling with Russian Su-30 Mk2s. So it's a slightly more advanced, not as advanced as the MKK, but still you can see these Su-30s. I'm looking at them right now, how they're loaded down. Yep, so that's an air-to-ground weapon. So they've got bombs on them. Those look like just standard glide bombs, things that you would just kind of release old school style. And then they've got air-to-air weaponry on them as well. They're two-seat, highly capable aircraft. And then you see this big wanker thing in the back. And these things aren't just an easy day. And you can see right there, those are actually, they look like they have some sort of a cruise glide on some of those air-to-ground weapons as well, like a little rocket motor in the back. But there's reports that there's operations of these going on right now in Venezuela. So things are kicking off. Things are getting more and more like hot every single day. And I want to keep bringing you guys this breaking news and these breaking updates. You can see capable engines there. So this is in mil power, which means not in afterburner, but there's the capability of these things to fly with full afterburner. There's even rumors that some of them can have thrust vectoring, but this is what's teaming up with the Venezuelan F-16s. So now they've got both. They've got the Su-30's and they've got the F-16s that are up there flying with each other, doing joint operations. And this is no accident. This is basically Maduro, the president of Venezuela, saying, look, we've got jets that are going to potentially try to go up and take down any F-18s that are coming off of the USS Ford. So breaking information there. I mean, there could be dogfights coming up with that any day now, but look at that. They're just showing off, which they think is their big swing and you know what. And it pretty much is. I mean, the Su-30 is essentially what Venezuela would default to for their frontline fighter jet that they would put up against the US Navy right now. I mean, the Caribbean's a hotbed. Venezuela knows it, and they know they've got to have something, at least something that can create some sort of deterrence. But I mean, when it comes down to an F-18 going up against these things, the tactics, the way that the F-18 pilots are going to fight against it, I believe they're going to outclass the Su-30 pilots every single day of the week. I mean, lack of training for these pilots, but the Su-30 to Venezuela is their bread and butter because they're actually getting parts from Russia, and that's the key. The F-16, I mean, they might be getting some parts here and there, and you can bet they're sharing all the different specs of that F-16 with Russia every single day. You know, they're going up, they're testing it out. They can dogfight against the F-16. So likely Russian pilots are in Venezuela as well, doing operations where they're fighting against the F-16s as their Red Air. So, you know, the US likes to sell our hardware. We like to sell that hardware here and there just because, you know, the defense industry, the defense industrial base likes making that money. But at the end of the day, there's a strong chance that you'll go up against that hardware. It's just kind of funny. So here is another video. Shows them getting these Su-30's ready. So let's see what they got here. Looks like he was cranking something. It was like a steam-powered crank that he was doing. There they go, writing on the weapon, like, you know, death to the U.S., whatever they want to write. Got the guys putting on the G-suits. So again, Venezuelan hype videos. Not sure what that like orange thing was. That was like a reflector. They're like, we don't want to get run over on our way out to the jet. There you go, two-seat Venezuelan Su-30. Yep, canopy's coming down. Oh yeah, I mean, it's a good-looking aircraft. I really like the way the Su-30 looks. But yeah, lots of hype is coming out about these things flying right now. This looks like a delayed takeoff. But just look at that runway. It just doesn't look like it's in great shape. But again, these are likely blasting off right now, and I guarantee they're sitting reserve where they think they're going to go up, you know, against any F-18s coming off of the USS Ford. So it's definitely something for us to keep our eye on. There goes that jet with that big wanker in the back. They're flying formation. Again, formation is not the easiest thing for these pilots to do, but they're out there doing it, trying to show that they have the ability. Yep, so that's what they were using. Those could be anti-ship missiles. Those could be, anti-surface missiles. So again, those look more like air-to-ground weapons to me that they're targeting in, trying to show like, hey, we can go up against your naval assets. So be careful. Don't come too close. Because things are heating up to a point where Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is just getting so scared about what could actually happen to him. And there's that weapon as well, Su-30. They're calling it a supersonic missile, the KH-31. Yeah, definitely supersonic. It's not hypersonic, but you can see that rocket on the back there. Ow! So they like to put funny music behind their videos as well. Lots of different rocket boosters on the side of that thing. So big legs, big range, and that's what they're going to want to have. They're going to want to have that long range because they don't want to get in tight with any of the F-18s. You can bet that they're definitely worried and a little bit nervous about that. But yeah, there we go. Here's the Su-30 again. Nice formation position, pretty stable on the wing there. Very stable aircraft though, nice jet to fly from what I've heard and just from the observations I've made. And then that's their deferred loadout. They've got those KH-31s on the wings. Yep, good close-up of that thing. And then they've got probably some sort of R-77 type air-to-air weapon or something like that on the sides. So that's very interesting that they've got that going on. Yeah, just one of those things, like they're hyping it up right now like we've never seen before, like in a way that's kind of never been done before. They love hyping that up. Here's another view of that weapon coming off. You can see that thing's going to have some range. I would guess 100 miles, maybe a little less, but that's definitely going to have some range. That big massive speed brake in the middle there, that's kind of like the F-15E. Parachutes coming out of the Su-30. It's just so funny seeing the parachutes come off of these things. And then there's another launch. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is their most capable frontline fighter. So you got to honor the threat. We always talk about honoring the threat as fighter pilots, making sure that you're not discounting anything. And here we go. Here is the, let's see, yeah, F-16. Let's pull that up. So this shows the F-16 doing some formation flying with the Su-30. So again, combined ops. And actually their paint jobs aren't too bad. But yeah, these are the jets right now that they're getting set up that they think can go intercept U.S. naval assets. Very interesting to see them kind of put out this flex right now. Also with Russia kind of getting in the mix, potentially Russia coming in, being the big brother that's saying like, oh, stop messing with the little brother. The little brother buys jets from us and buys aircraft from us. But clearly they're still keeping the F-16s flying. We've got a couple two-seat F-16s, it looks like. Very interesting conundrum when you have basically a cartel boss that's also got Su-30's and F-16s. I mean, this is a problem in a situation that hasn't been seen before. So naval fighter pilots, naval aviators right now are preparing for this issue on a level that they haven't had to do before. There hasn't had to be this air-to-air type conundrum before, fighting the Houthi rebels and things like that. You're thinking of drones, you're thinking of weapons being launched at the ship, things like that. So very interesting, guys, that we've got this going down. I bet there's a lot of F-18 pilots that are licking their lips right now saying, yeah, please, Maduro, please send up some of these F-16s and Su-30's. But again, that long-range KH-31, you got to honor that thing. So Su-30 Mk2, yep, so this is going to have, so this missile here kind of on the middle part of the jet, that looks like some sort of an R-77. So that's going to be a radar-guided missile, or at least radar-assisted. And then you've got a Archer, like an AA-11 or an AA-10, and that's going to be an infrared homing missile. So yeah, the F-18s have to honor this threat. They have to honor it for sure. And then these wing pylons here on the side, those look like some sort of electronic attack, kind of like a built-in electronic attack pod. And then that's just a good view of the underneath side of the Su-30. You can see the big intakes there. So not a stealthy aircraft. This thing's going to stand out. So it's going to walk in the room and it's going to be like a big spotlight shining on it. So they're not planning on stealth with this thing. They're probably planning on getting it up to altitude, launching those KH-31s, and then going from there. A quick, let's scan down through X a little bit more here. as we see what's going on. Yeah, Puerto Rico is in the mix of this thing. That's what that dude was saying there. But looks like we've got some hype videos too of the F-35. They're basically saying like the Su-30, in their opinion, in Maduro's opinion, maybe it's hubris. They're saying that they're going to go up against the F-35. That's just not going to happen. But yeah, that's kind of the overview of the hype videos. It looks like these are the latest breaking updates. And it looks like from radar footage, it looks like some flights that they're doing with the Su-30, they're staying on the mainland. Obviously they don't want to get to a point where they're flying towards the naval vessels again, because the orders come down from Trump saying, shoot them down, to the different ship captains. He's saying, yeah, we're not tolerating this anymore. Oh, this is a cool video. Let's make this. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so just a nice close-up of the Su-30 dropping a weapon. This is going to be a glide bomb. This is like a dumb glide bomb. Now, there it goes. Two of them at a time. Nice ripple formation going into a hillside. Yeah, nice. And so that was likely just a dumb release bomb. Probably not a lot of guidance on that thing. Basically, as the Su-30 pilot's trucking in, I mean, it's from a low altitude. And if you notice here, it's just very interesting because they don't do any type of safe escape maneuver. They're doing a level safe escape maneuver, which honestly isn't the best idea. You'd want to turn or get away from the frag blast. So again, some of the tactics that they're using, it just kind of shows the, I guess, rudimentary training in a lot of their pilots. Again, you don't discount them, but this update on them actually flying these things, making these an actual threat, yeah, it's going to be hard for it to be. But here's some new updated weapons, that they've got. They've got a ton of cash to, respectively, a ton of cash for like a cartel-based government. But you can see here, looks to be some sort of electro-optical sensor on this. So this could be a weapon that's being guided in by the backseater as they launch and release it. So they're probably thinking in their mind, this could be an anti-ship weapon where they're going to release it and try to take it towards a ship. I mean, it's just kind of wild to think about that that's even an option for them, but it is. That's something that they're thinking. So as you can see, double nose gear there, and bad technology for the brakes. So it just kind of tells you a little bit about the technology of the Su-30. There's been some updates to it. So Russia's got obviously more updated models. China's got a version of this thing. So just kind of looking down the spec sheet here, China has modernized it in a way that hasn't been done by Venezuela, because China's basically taken that Russian design and they've updated it to that Su-30 MKK/MK2. And that's this photo here. And that's a sharp looking aircraft. You can see the lines are a little cleaner. It's got a little more of a smooth flow to it, upgraded paint. Maybe they're trying to do some sort of radar absorbent paint or something like that. And yeah, Su-30 MKK, love training against this thing. I start licking my lips a little bit when I look at this thing. But let's see if we can get to some of the additional weapons that it's got on it. But yeah, China's got them, Indonesia, Russia, Uganda. Uganda's got some. Wow. And Venezuela and Vietnam have those as well. But again, highly capable aircraft. You can see, it's got countermeasures. So these are flares coming out of it. So it's not defenseless. It's got the ability to, ward off some threats. An AIM-9X coming at it from an F-18. It's not going to just sit there and take it. It's going to try to, flare off that AIM-9X. Even though those AIM-9Xs have flare rejection capability, you're still looking at a situation where you're going up against a 4th-gen fighter. So F-18 off the USS Gerald Ford, that's all that thing carries is the F-18. It wasn't updated for the F-35. So F-18s, more of those in the area than F-35s. We've got F-35Bs that are at Puerto Rico, but a crew in this thing will be a crew of 2. Length of it is about 71 feet long, 48 feet wide. So it's a big aircraft. I mean, that's a long. I mean, I don't know if that's right. That seems a little longer than what I've remembered. But hey, who's counting, right? Height of this thing, 20 feet high. Yeah, that's probably from the ground all the way up to the top of its vertical tail. I could see that being the case. And then, yeah, 76,000 pounds and fully loaded. That makes sense. Fuel capacity, 21,000 pounds. So you're looking at probably somewhere maximum of about 2 hours of airborne time. So these Su-30s getting up and getting airborne, going up against the U.S. Navy, they're going to be able to loiter for a while around the coast, and they're probably going to think of them more as like a point defense type aircraft where they're trying to, take down, I don't know, some sort of, they probably think of like a drone coming in from the US as well, the capability of the US to launch drones. That's something that they think about. And then here's a website talking about just the combined ops of the F-16 and the Su-30. Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting that these two things are flying together. It's like they've got their own little mini Red Air squadrons built in. So you can see Nicolas Maduro. He's basically trying to flex, and he's saying, yeah, you can't compete with me. You can't do anything to take down Venezuela. And as the U.S. Navy starts to build that force, the bigger force, more that's rolling into the area, Nicolas Maduro is doubling down and digging his heels in, and he's going to Russia, and he's asking for more parts. He's asking for more capability. Again, if I was a betting man, I'd say there's probably some Russian pilots mixed in that have dual citizenship that are on loan to Venezuela to help them do some training. But again, Su-30 Mk2s, those things are going to be a good medium altitude fighter. And they're up there just doing everything they can to show that they have something to fight against the U.S. Navy. So very interesting there. I think that, these photos, these images give us a really good depiction of what we're going to see moving forward here in the near future as these potential Su-30 Mk2s go up to protect this guy right here. To protect this regime. I don't ever really trust anybody that wears all these medals unless they were in the military. It's just kind of funny. And then he's got like that picture of like, some sort of conquistador in the background. Very interesting. Yep. And then tied to that photo, the image kind of sharing that they've deployed the Mk2s across Venezuela, and the tensions are escalating. Obviously, they're getting hotter and hotter. And so the Su-30 Mk2 is something that Venezuela is going to be banking on. Just very funny here to see. Let's see if there's anything else going on. Yep, so Maduro teamed up with Putin. That's obviously something that they go hand in glove. They're working together. Here's a demonstration of this. This shows they got their speed brakes out. That's very interesting. Yep, so they're doing border patrols. So this has been going on for a few months. They all three have their speed brakes out. That's kind of funny. They're like, slow down for the camera. But yeah, so there it is, the Su-30. They've been doing operations for a few months, but now lately they're ramping things up. So I wanted to give you guys just some breaking updates and information on this Su-30, what we could be seeing moving forward. And yeah, this is the X-31 missile that we're seeing. So new phase of naval deterrence. So again, they're trying to show we have a naval deterrent. That's kind of one of the biggest things that I want to talk about in this video. Is this is focused. So it's an X-31 AR missile. So it's a sea anti-ship missile, and it's them trying to gloat and say, we can take down your cruisers, we can take down your amphibious warships, we can take down your carrier. So again, that's why the order to not allow them to push around any ships. So if they're flying anywhere close to these ships, these things have to be taken down. And again, when it comes to the F-18s that are on alert, that are ready to go, it really comes down to making sure they have the green light and they're not waiting, and then all of a sudden something happens and one of these gets too close. They launch one of these and it comes close to the aircraft carrier. That would just not be a good day. That would be a very bad day for sure. So here's some more fresh footage. Looks like some fresh paint on, that's a single seat Su-30. So think of this one more as like an air-to-air type platform. But really, they're going to try to use them for both, I think. This one doesn't have any weapons on it. But if they're putting this thing up to go against any type of naval assets, they're probably going to want it to be able to do both. So multi-role would, that would be my main guess there when it comes to that. But yeah, good looking aircraft overall. Got some electro-optical sensors here. And yeah, this one doesn't have that big pitot tube in the front. But overall, man, just an interesting time that we find ourselves in. Very interesting time that we find ourselves in, guys. And again, when it comes to the mindset of an F-18 pilot going up against a Su-30 MKK, okay, let's talk about that just a little bit, all right? So first of all, you're going to want to have the ability to get those F-18s airborne as fast as possible. And that's what the USS Gerald R. Ford is made for. That thing is built for that. So you've got those catapults, those electromagnetic catapults, boom, they're getting jets off. you could probably do a couple a minute, just boom, 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 having them rapid fire ready to go. And that's what that ship is built for. That's what it's built to do. So the operations that are going down right now, they're likely focused on quantity. So the quantity of F-18s being able to be up there to protect against any of these SU-30's that are going to get close enough to think they can launch that X-31 missile at the ship. I mean, you've got to be on top of that. You can't let that slip. So that's likely going down right now. And one of the main focuses for the F-18s is defensive counter air. And that's what means you're protecting the ship. You're up against it. You're up against an enemy that is unpredictable and probably a little desperate, right? Because in this area, we've seen, a lot of saber rattling in the last few days. And so when the saber rattling starts happening, that's when trigger fingers get itchy, okay? And you get a Su-30 MKK pilot up there with an itchy trigger finger, and then boom, here we go. All bets are off. And now you're at a phase where you have to act first. So the ROE, the rules of engagement, need to be made in a way that it allows for those F-18 pilots to have the gloves off from square one as soon as they blast off the carrier. So I really hope that's what they have. I really hope that ROE, well, shaking the camera there, I'm getting excited. I really hope that ROE gives them the ability to fire first and not have to wait so they can protect the naval assets that are out there. But I'll keep you guys posted. I wanted to get you this breaking info as soon as I could about the Su-30 MKK that we could see going up against dogfights, long-range fights, close-in fights versus, naval assets. But there's also F-35s. So we've got F-35s out of Puerto Rico. They're going to have to refuel. Those are the F-35Bs that are not going to have the same force projection as the F-18s. So the F-18s are going to be closer, blasting off the carrier, making their way to just schwack those Su-30s. And what a great day for these pilots. I'm super excited for them. But I'll keep you guys posted as the situation develops. And I'll likely do more updates like this. I like this breaking news type style. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, watch the next video that pops up. If you watch the next video that pops up right over here, it'll help the channel grow a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.